We need to look into this trial. It's been all over social media. I've had people tagging me in it nonstop. I saw like 1 or 2 clips. It was clearly a cringe fest.
Don't nobody tell me what to do.
Everyone here has been respectful other than you.
Since you think you know so much.
So if you didn't know, Darrell Brooks, he was accused, I have to say that considering the trial is still going, of murdering 6 people when he drove his SUV into a parade. He was apprehended rather quickly and, he's guilty, the trial's over? Jesus Christ. I told you, I have not caught up with this at all. This is about to be my first time seeing all of this, a literal nightmare. You know what? I'm not gonna pretend to know how mental health is evaluated before a trial, but in my opinion, it's shocking and embarrassing that he was allowed to represent himself. The man is clearly delusional. I feel like we throw that word around all the time, but more specifically, a delusion is a false belief based on incorrect ideas about an external reality that is firmly sustained despite what almost everyone else believes and despite obvious proof or evidence to the contrary. In this case, Darrell's delusion is that he didn't do it. And there's different levels to delusion. We've seen erotomania, that was like in the Jacqueline Audis case, where someone completely believes that someone is in love with them. We meet delusional people all the time, but sometimes they can come off extremely confident because they believe everything they're saying. So it can be really deceptive. I'm so nervous. I'm nervous to watch this.
The defendant will now make an opening statement. The purpose of an opening statement is to give the defendant an opportunity to tell you what he expects the evidence will show so that you will better understand the evidence as it is introduced during the trial. I must caution you, however, that the opening statements are not evidence. With that, go ahead, sir.
Obviously, I don't have any rehearsed or well-prepared speech, so I'm just going to speak from the heart. I would just like to first say that I want to bring to remembrance something I think everyone in this room has been taught pretty much as far back as we can remember. There's always 2 sides to every story. And for so long now, roughly a year, there's only truly been one side told of this story. And I've sat back and watched from countless narratives that's been put out there, the way this incident has been portrayed at times, and finally everyone getting a chance to get the full story. You won't hear me try to argue facts.
What does that mean?
This incident was tragic.
Okay.
Very tragic. That's not lost on me. Facts are that there's still a lot of people healing, a lot of families healing on both sides. What I'm confident that the evidence will show, sorry, I'm getting a little emotional, is that this incident was not planned. This incident was not intentional.
What is he gonna
This incident
argue?
was never even thought about.
What? Hello? Did you not know that you were doing an opening statement today? Did nobody tell you? So we're 4 minutes into his 14-minute opening statement, and this just makes me feel like we're in for a circus of emotional manipulation. He's not presenting no evidence, and I mean, like we saw in the Chander Halderson case, Oh my God. Do you guys remember how beautifully, how masterfully the prosecutor started to present and lay out that information in a timeline? We saw something very similar in the Dark Knight shooter case as well. I mean, that is what these are for. It's to start to paint a story. It's not to emotionally manipulate me for 14 minutes and be like, this is really hard for me too, you know? There's two sides to every story. Like...
Well, we're waiting.
And I think, in reference to what I stated earlier, it's easy to forget the other side of the coin. There's been a lot of suffering involved in this incident. A lot with the families, with the community.
What the? I don't understand.
And even the alleged defendant's family as well. There's been a lot of suffering.
Is that him?
I just want you to keep in mind everything that will be presented.
I'll have to skip ahead. Thank you! My brain right now is just reeling through the hours and the many opening statements that we've seen. My brain is just cycling through all of these powerful prosecutors, even some of these powerful defense attorneys just laying down the law. And then we got this little turd taking up everybody's time. Just wait, Boz, it gets worse.
I know a lot of the time I've been before you see me with this mask on.
Mask?
Yeah, I've had my reasons for that.
I can't. This is ridiculous.
But I feel now is the time to... It's important that you see me for who I am.
All right, let's get to the net. I can't do it. Let's look at the prosecution really quick.
The streets were lined with friends and family members and neighbors.
This is how you paint a story. It's okay.
People there to soak up the atmosphere. Kids ran into the street to grab candy from the people who were throwing it from the parades. It sounds corny, but I think you'll see from the videos, there was a true sense of joy in the air. Darrell Brooks killed that joy. He replaced it with terror, trauma, and death. The evidence is going to show that Mr. Brooks left behind a trail of carnage and chaos as he made his way down Main Street through the parade route. The evidence will show that he left that crime scene, created that crime scene, in fact, because he was fleeing from another one where he had laid his hands on a woman and where police involvement became inevitable. So as he careened down Main Street, swerving from curb to curb, hands glued to the steering wheel, eyes fixed on the road in front of him with a silent rage on his face.
Oh my God.
He hit the gas with his red Ford Escape and used it as a battering ram.
This is why I say people, when they're in an extremely delusional state, they get angry when your words start to pierce their delusion. They get legitimately angry. Right now, he's sitting there thinking, that didn't happen, that didn't happen, that didn't happen, that didn't happen. That's just going over and over and over in his head.
Mr. Brooks killed 6 people. He injured dozens more and left a permanent scar on this community.
Yeah. Even if somebody wasn't injured in this, just seeing it happen, just being in the vicinity is absolutely devastating. Honestly, a lot of times, seeing the darkness in human beings is absolutely fucking terrifying. We like to walk through the world with rose-colored glasses and think, maybe there's bad people that commit fraud, or, there are like murders and things that happen sometimes. To see somebody plowing down the street with no remorse, murdering 6 people and injuring like other people with no remorse, it's horrifying knowing that some people have that in their hearts, and you never forget it. That's why a lot of people that are investigators or that see really gruesome crime scenes, 911 operators, they now know how evil the world is, and they can't get it out of their head.
I'm going to take a few minutes. I'm going to lay out for you the table of contents to this story. We're going to set the scene with Sergeant Dave Warner from the City of Waukesha Police Department. Sergeant Warner was the highest ranking police official working at the parade that day. He was the incident commander for the Waukesha Christmas Parade, and we are going to, with Sergeant Warner's help, take you through this, which is the first of 3 maps that we will refer to repeatedly throughout this trial. This map depicts the area that we're going to be talking about over the next couple of days.
We don't need to be convinced that he did it. We know that. He's also been convicted. All right. Am I really ready for some of these clips? Question, do you guys watch a lot of this stuff on your own, or sometimes does it make it easier to watch with a community? I don't know. Darrell Brooks questions witness about his identity.
Thank you, sir. I don't have any other questions.
All right, sir. Mr. Brooks, do you have any questions for this witness?
Yes, I do, and I object to being called that name for the record.
Being called what?
Do you recall giving a statement to Officer Probst?
I don't know his name, but I've talked to an officer.
And you did talk to an officer that night?
I talked to an officer on the phone. I did not talk to an officer that night. I mean, on the phone I did, but not in person.
So it was a conversation on the non-emergency line. Would that be fair to say?
It was on the non-emergency line. I actually confirmed it after I called to make sure I was on the non-emergency line.
Do you recall the description that you gave at that time?
I do. Well, my best of my knowledge was that you were either black, Latino,
Who's you?
or mixed.
Who's you?
Well, you have to let him answer the question first before you interrupt him with another one. Go ahead with the description you provided that night.
I said that the individual was either black, mixed, or Latino.
He said, who's you?
So it'd be fair to say you didn't know at the time?
I was giving a general description.
So it'd be fair to say that you weren't sure?
Oh,
I was
my God.
I was positive it was you.
Who is you?
You. I'm looking at you.
And how did you come to that conclusion, the you conclusion?
I'm looking at you.
How did you come to that conclusion? Did you?
What conclusion? Can you restate the question?
You're saying that you gave a description on the non-emergency phone line, correct?
It was on a non-emergency line.
So it would be fair to say at that time you had no name or knowledge of who the person was in your backyard. Would that be fair to say?
I had no idea who you were.
But I know what you look like.
And so how can you say how can you say you then if you had no idea?
I'm looking at you. You were the guy.
And how did you come to that conclusion?
You and I were standing in the same yard looking at each other.
So, is it possible you saw something on the news?
No, I had no idea who you were.
Interesting.
Oh my God.
Do you recall giving a description of approximately 5'9" and 160 pounds?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that, or would that be accurate?
I didn't have a tape measure out. It was just a guesstimate.
Oh, he's gonna latch onto that. Wait, no, he's not. He's not an attorney.
Would it be fair to say that since you keep identifying me as you, would it be fair to say that I'm not 5'9" nor 160 pounds?
Oh my
You have your shoes on and off right now.
Oh my God.
Would it be fair to say that I'm not 5'9", 160 pounds?
If you take your shoes off and step out of them, they could have a better.
I'm not going to have them do that, but if you're able to answer the question.
Dude, his argument is straight up 5'9" and 160 pounds. It's not me, baby. Like, oh my God, dude. Have you ever been in a conversation before where somebody's just trying to exhaust you until you give up? There's actually and I feel it, I feel it coming. There's a stress response that's called collapse and submit, when you're maybe in like an argument, or maybe you're in a high stress environment like this. This would be a high stress environment for me, where the pressure is just mounting so much that the person collapses, doesn't fight back anymore, and submits to the will of others. I feel like Darrell is used to that, and he's just trying to exhaust anyone and everyone until he can figure out the next stupid line, or until they give in.
Do you agree?
I'd have to be standing next to him. That's what I made my judgment from. We were about 2 feet from each other.
Does it look like I'm 5'9"?
I don't know, we were a lot closer.
Does it look like I'm 160 pounds?
Objection.
What is
Grounds.
that?
Relevant as to his appearance today, just like his hair
It's
is.
because you're not eating you're only eating the cut crust sandwiches in your little orange suit. A lot could change then. Shit, you could lose an inch off your height too. Probably slouching from the shame. Next clip. Darrell Brooks flips out when prosecutor reveals he's a sex offender.
The state has the ability to question you about that, or question this witness, and to look at the veracity of what your
Dude,
claims.
that response is of a child. La la la, la la
Question you
la,
about
I'm
that.
not listening.
Question this witness, and to look at the veracity of what your claims are here. So, when we...
La la la, are you done yet? Are you done yet? God, what a fucking psychotic response. Oh my God, I'm gonna lose my mind.
I may take an early lunch. If that's in your cell, then you can go get it and bring it. But without that letter, I'm not allowing this line of questioning. Do you have the letter with you in court?
I just said no. How many
Okay.
times I gotta say the same
Oh
thing?
my God, he's like a little kid.
You know, sometimes, sir, I don't hear what you say because you interrupt me so much, or you answer quietly. And I'm taking notes, and I'm focused on probably a dozen things at the same time.
But if I say something under my breath, everybody seems to hear it.
What?
Everybody seems to hear
In
that
a
just
quiet
fine.
courtroom,
And
What does that have to
everybody
do with
assumes-
hear
anything?
it very
and
clearly.
everybody assumes that it has to be.
Dude, that's the typical thing of we're talking about this, and then they come in, they say, well, what about this? And they try to get you to engage with the thing over there, because then they can go, well, what about this? And what about this? And what about this? And it just builds a little net that gets further and further and further, or I'm sorry, a little web that gets further and further and further away from the core issue that we're talking about.
Be disparaging. or-
Once again, you're doing this tactic.
Because
Try to
it's not a
go
tactic,
off of
it's
what
facts.
We're talking
It's
about
facts.
That's right, call
to
him out.
Some other
It's
reason.
facts.
To
Because
some
I
other
find it
thing.
hard to believe that
I'm gonna
all
let
of
the
a sudden
state.
nobody hears what I say.
I'm gonna let the state make a
Just
record of why they
poetry.
believe it's
I hate this.
objectionable, because I haven't let them do that. I've given you multiple opportunities to tell me why you
So
believe
I
it's.
didn't get these pictures from nobody else. Why was
The
somebody
record will
else
reflect you have 2 pictures that you believe were from this witness.
that I know is from?
No, that you believe.
That I know.
All right, I'll ask the state their position on all of this.
These two right here. Let's go, ladies. Let's go.
Law should not be admissible. 1, because of a discovery violation. We've never seen them before. 2, because we have reason to believe that he did not get them from Erica Patterson. He is on a jail phone call talking.
He didn't submit them during the discovery phase. He just pulled it out. He's not following any protocol for actually being an attorney, obviously. He just watched a couple movies, stepped in the courtroom and said, let's go.
About Dawn Woods sending these photographs to him. Now,
That's a lie. I object to
Let
that.
the state make their argument without interruption, sir.
That's a lie, though.
3, I believe that these photographs are designed to make a suggestion to the jury that Erica Patterson is a bad mom. I think that that's what the defendant is trying to do. And if we're going to go down that road, then we would be forced to counter that claim. First of all, it doesn't make her an incredible witness, if it's even true. And second of all, if we go down that road, we would be forced to counter that claim by pointing out that not only does the defendant not live with the child in question, he doesn't live with any of the other children that he has. He impregnated Erica Patterson when she was a minor in Nevada, and for doing so, he was convicted of statutory sexual seduction, pled guilty in March of 2007 to that felony offense, and is a sex offender on the registry as a result. So if there's any causation that would lead to Erica Patterson being a bad mom, Mr. Brooks has a direct role in that causation.
And that's
Furthermore,
I object to that.
I'm not
because
sure.
that's a lie.
Let him
Because at
That's
the end of the
it.
day,
It's the problem. I don't
we-
think
you
it's a
know,
lie.
no, since he want to make a record and not be accurate, so let's be accurate all on the record. Since you think you know so much,
Once
So
again,
we can
Mr.
open the
Brooks
door
is
on.
being
We can
loud,
open the door on how old she told me she was. when we met.
interrupting.
We can ask that question
He is
too. Then
over the
Did you
top,
ask that?
animated
Do you
right
know
now.
that?
Mr. Brooks, I'm ordering you to sit down and to let the state finish.
I'm not going to sit here and let somebody be inaccurate on the record and lie on the record.
Right. Under Illinois versus Allen, I've warned him repeatedly. He's being removed from the courtroom. And you know what? Let me dial that back. We're just going to take an early lunch, 1 hour. We'll be back.
Oh my
Unless he brings that
God.
letter, and he can show it is inadmissible. She will not be questioned. And under 90611, I will declare the cross-examination closed. Thank you. We're in recess. 1 hour.
You don't even know what happened. Dude, is it just me, or he alternates between sounding like a little kid and an angry mom that's really immature. Oh, you think you're smart. Oh, you're gonna sit here and talk about that. Look, some of y'all ain't have parents like that, but some of y'all do. Look, man, that just made me realize if a parent ever says to you, well, since you think you know everything, that's fucking rude, dude. Next clip.
I provided you yesterday as a courtesy with a copy of my oaths of office. My name is on that as well.
They were not certified.
You are
Your Honor.
attempting to disrupt with asking questions like this.
I am not
I
attempting
realize
to
it may very well be related to your claim to be a sovereign citizen and
Claim to be
disputing
sovereign.
the
Claim to be sovereign. Let's correct the record
jurisdiction
right
of
now
this
while we're on the
court, but
record.
these are not questions this court is obligated to
I would like to
answer.
correct the record and say that I am sovereign.
All right, you believe you're sovereign, the record is corrected. So,
my God.
Mr. Brooks, we're getting really close for you crossing the line,
Really close to crossing the
being
line,
removed
Your
from the
Honor.
court's for
I
continued
do not-
interruptions.
I do not
want you
consent to
here.
that, Your Honor.
Mr. Brooks, you haven't let me get in one sentence this morning.
I haven't.
It is only, it's 8:57. I want you to be here. Certainly my preference is for you to be here to participate fully, but you do not have the right to disrupt the proper administration. I demand dignity, order, and decorum. You have been provided with the copy of SCR Chapter 62 that lists the responsibilities that myself, the attorneys in this courtroom, the litigants, it even applies, as you can see if you read it, applies to witnesses, jurors, those in attendance. Everyone here has been respectful other than you throughout these proceedings.
I object to that respectfully. I have not been disruptive, and I do not see any paperwork that you just described.
Missy Bree said, we are all safer that this man is behind bars. He's so unhinged. He truly is. He believes that nothing that he does is wrong. He's one of those people that no matter what he does, he can find a way to justify it in his mind. And that is terrifying.
To be in front
Mr.
of
Brooks,
you.
I'm going to continue with a finding right now that you have flagrantly disregarded elementary standards of proper conduct. That conduct will not be tolerated. You stating things even in a mild manner tone of voice doesn't change the fact that we've had a dozen or more interruptions by you and by you alone. When you don't like the answer I give, even if that's a non-response, you continue to ask the same question over and over. You repeat yourself. You show absolutely no respect for the court, for these proceedings. You have demonstrated in the short, not even 30 minutes that we've been on the record, that you will continue to disrupt. I am going to have the jurors brought in. Again, it is my sincere hope that you follow these simple and basic rules, but the next interruption, you will be removed to the next courtroom.
I do not consent to any paperwork that is not based factually in law. I don't give my consent,
We have the jurors here?
and I will not agree to anything.
Not yet, okay.
So again, with that title, I object respectfully. With that title name that is on your card, since you will not answer the question, but I merely asked of Your Honor numerous times at this point.
God, I hate when people do that. Minimization. I'm just asking you a simple question. It's such an easy request. What's so wrong with you that you can't honor this little tiny, simple, tiny thing that I'm doing when we can all see it's a nightmare? But like, it's like, what are you supposed to do in the middle of that conversation?
Can the Title IX please direct the prosecutor to answer whether there are assessment for the charges
Mr. Brooks.
in her possession?
No one's going to be answering these questions.
He's trying to get
okay?
power back.
I'm not requiring the state to do that.
Good.
I'm advising you to stop asking those questions.
I request
my-
Will be considered an He's interrupted.
I
Take him to the
request
next
the Title
courtroom.
IX
I'll make more
Are they
findings.
gonna really
when he
take
is in
him
the
out? Are they
courtroom,
actually gonna take him out?
next
do
door,
not agree
and
to
I
a
can
estoppel, Your Honor.
do that without
I do
an
not
interruption.
consent or agree to an estoppel, and I will move the court again.
All right, Mr. Brooks, you have been muted so that I can make some appropriate findings here this morning. I understand that you object. Your objection is noted. Your lack of consent is noted. As I indicated earlier, I lost track after about a dozen or so interruptions.
If you're not picking up on this, they have moved him to a different courtroom so that he's under an intercom system so they can choose to mute and unmute.
Options by Mr. Brooks. He continues to ask questions that I told him I would not answer. And even though I made a decision not to answer questions, he keeps asking those. From my perspective, they are questions that any sovereign or sovereign citizen tends to ask regarding my name, my oath, jurisdiction, things of that nature. This court, of course, has authority from the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin, the statutes. I've been duly elected twice now by the citizens of Waukesha County to preside over criminal and other cases in the courts of Waukesha County. I fully am aware that Mr. Brooks, as a sovereign, disputes the validity of that, but from my perspective, they are not issues that need to be debated. He raises these issues really just by simple statements. He has never filed an appropriate motion. Motions are governed by state law. Written motions require that the specific relief be requested, that the motion be based on law and fact. I've never gotten anything even close to that from Mr. Brooks. Even if I were to accept an oral motion, which can be proper at times, he has failed to follow the simplest of
She's basically just
procedural
going
requirements.
over the ways in which she's
He
violated
continues to be in the other courtroom. You
just
can
covering
see
herself.
on the monitor, he's standing, he's facing the other direction, he's yelling what, I can't hear him, but it appears that he is yelling. I muted him because of his interruptions of the court, and I understand he objects. His objection is again once is noted. And because of the disruptions, and based upon the authority in Illinois versus Allen, I also referenced yesterday a persuasive case. It's not at my fingertips. I'll get that for the record. It's the Pennsylvania case that I found to be of persuasive value.
When people are like this, you want to just ignore them until they stop. But Darrell has shown that he resorts to violence in that case. But, you know, in a courtroom, they're just going to have to take him out. And I'll be here. Leave the cameras on.
A similar procedure was done. Frankly, what we are providing here in Waukesha County through the use of the technology we have in the courtroom is far superior to what was done in that Pennsylvania case. I have the ability to mute, to unmute. I can see him. He can see the 4 cameras in this courtroom right now. That would be me. It would be the table where I would like him to be seated. That is empty, the prosecution table, and then the witness stand. I am cognizant that the one limitation is the cameras do not pick up the jurors when they sit. There may be, depending on the angle on the witness stand, a few jurors that would get captured.
Darrell Brooks builds box fort, hides from camera. Oh my God.
The record should reflect Mr. Brooks is muted because he wants to continue to debate with this court about my prior rulings regarding his forfeiture by conduct of his right to present further evidence on his behalf.
Is he in a different courtroom right
No, I
now?
don't want to do that. Oh, you don't? I changed.
He is. He's in a different room. He's been moved again.
76.
He
The
wouldn't be just quiet
76
if he was in the
count.
same room.
It says near Frame Park, so it is in there, but that was just one question I had. All right. So, state have any requests as it relates to the jury instructions?
I'm just going through each one.
What the fuck? A lot of the patterns that I see are Darrell desperately grasping for any source of power he can have. Rejecting his name, saying, I'm going to take my power back by saying you can't call me that. I'm going to take my power back by hiding from the cameras. I'm going to take my power back by constantly talking over you. You're not going to stop me. This reminds me of somebody that just had a parent that made them feel powerless their entire life. One in the chat, if you had a parent that made you feel powerless all of the time, probably if you had like a narcissistic parent, maybe it's not even a narcissistic parent necessarily. It's just a parent that like is always in total and complete control and won't let you have any. Doesn't think that you can think for yourself. You can't do anything on your own. They just think that you're just this little stupid. A lot of us have experienced that before, and we're just fucking getting over it, okay? Like, we're not weirdly desperate for any little tiny morsel of power we can have. I mean, like, this is so weird. He's just, like, so emotionally stunted by whatever happened to him back then. But I can't even, honestly, you know what? Listen, I'm not going to do the thing today. I'm not going to try to make sense of this bullshit. We're just going to spectate.
Requesting to go back to his cell at this point, I'm going to deny that request. He can remain in the other courtroom.
It's funny how he starts to act like a child and then he starts to get treated like a child. Like, no, you can't go back to your room. I'm going to keep you in the playpen. Somebody said, Boz, what are your thoughts on this judge? Was she in control of her courtroom? Hey, listen, I'm not an attorney. I'm a YouTuber. But do I wish she was a little more in control of Darrell? Absolutely. But what would prepare you for this? Like, we've never really seen a case like this, especially like broadcasted. What judge would be prepared for this type of behavior? To be honest, guys, most of us have experienced a Darrell Brooks on a very small scale. I've met people that are 20% of what he is. Most of us will never meet anyone this extreme. And what prepares you for it? I want to try to figure out what I would do, but I'm so frustrated that like it's hard for me to think logically. Is this flooding by definition? Hold on. Flooding. Has he flooded me? Oh, in psychology, flooding. Exposed to directly maximum intensity, anxiety producing situation. I get triggered by being emotionally manipulated. Does anyone else get like triggered when they feel like they're being emotionally manipulated? Ooh, I'm like, hold on. What would I do? What would you guys do? That's my ruling. Let's move on. You can just do that? You can just say, this is my decision and let's move on? I'm out here fighting for my life every day. You guys thought that I was teaching you about emotional manipulation and how to get through it? No, we're in this boat drowning together. Just go to the next fucking clip. This is mind-boggling. Darrell Brooks upset over his rap video in evidence.
No, the jury will disregard the statements made by Mr. Brooks. They're not evidence, and the statement
So this
continue.
exhibit shouldn't be evidence then, because it
Mr.
didn't
Brooks, the
exist before
objection's
today.
noted. It's overruled. Go ahead.
There was a still photo shown before of Mr. Brooks standing in front of the Ford Escape. This is the video in which that still photo was taken from.
Objection, how does he know that?
Overruled. The witness may answer. I'll give you the opportunity to question him about it when the state's done asking the questions. Go ahead.
Where'd you get this video from, sir?
Objection, leading.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
From Mr. Brooks' social media account.
Okay. Your Honor, move to admit 178 and permission to publish.
Objection to the relevancy.
Objection
Find that relevant. I'll receive Exhibit 168. Permission to publish is granted. For the record,
It's 178, Your Honor.
no, could you please tell me the length of the video?
The length is 2 minutes, 33 seconds. We're going to play it in its entirety, but without volume, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
And
I object to that, and I would like to make an offer of proof for my appeal.
We'll do that outside the presence of the jury, but I will allow the state to play it in its entirety without audio.
Your Honor, I have all the exhibits. They were provided.
Mr. Brooks, I'll take that up.
What's the emphasis on exhibits for? Was he just excited because he knew what word to use there?
With the other two issues I still need to address.
But how can you play something that's not, that I didn't even
Mr. Brooks,
have?
I'll take that up outside the presence of the jury.
This
Your
is
objections are
mind-boggling.
noted.
This is
It's
mind-boggling.
overruled.
Mind-boggling.
actually, Your Honor, I changed my mind. I would like to play the audio, please.
No.
I want to have it played first without, and then I'll make a ruling and I'll take that up.
Okay, I understand.
Thank you.
Okay, honestly, like a little too emo.
So we will play the entire
I'm not
video, Your Honor, 2 minutes, 33 seconds.
I object to that. Why does the whole video need to be played?
What is this?
Is this setting the foundation?
It's relevant. You questioned the officer about it. You questioned
I
the detective about his knowledge.
about the steel frame from the video.
Who is this? Is that
The
him?
video wasn't
With
even
long dreads?
in the exhibits that I received. I actually didn't even receive them. They
Mr.
were
Brooks, please
obtained.
stop. The jury will disregard his statements. He's not testifying. The video's playing.
Oh.
Jumping off the chain like what's the business?
I'm feeling a light 0 on this.
It's better like this.
So play the sound. I want to hear it now.
Go ahead, attorney, after the video's finished playing.
Thank you. Sir, did you see during the playing of that video the image that was captured as a screenshot and presented to you in your direct testimony as states exhibit number 175?
Objection leading.
Overruled foundational. The witness may answer.
Yes, I
A
did.
lot of.
You were questioned on cross-examination as to your ability to identify Mr. Brooks in exhibit 175, correct?
Objection. That question was asked initially by Attorney Hopper.
Overruled. The
Yeah.
witness may answer. Sorry.
Yes, I was.
As you just watched the entire video again now in court, as states exhibit 178, did you clearly see Mr. Brooks in that video, sir?
Objection leading.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
I believe there's no doubt that that's Mr. Brooks in the video and later standing next to the Ford Escape.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions, Your Honor.
Was that the car in question, guys? And it was in the video?
Mr. Brooks, you may
my
ask
God.
questions of Detective Casey.
Objection. I don't consent to being called that name. And yeah.
Noted. Do you have any questions for the witness?
This when did this video? When was this made a exhibit? Because I don't have it.
Objection. That's not a question for the witness, Your Honor.
That was a question. When
Sustained.
was this
As to the
video
form of
made
the
an exhibit?
question,
When was this video made an exhibit? That is a question.
I object to the question directly.
Like, okay, when he does that, chat, if you were the judge, what would you do? On it, you know what? I would have thrown him out right fucking there. Slap him. You can't do that. One quick whack with the gavel across the face. Some of y'all may not be judges for long, okay? Yeah, I would have thrown his ass out after that.
At the witness, Your Honor, it's beyond the scope of his knowledge.
Well, he said he saw it.
that's not the question asked. So you can rephrase your question if you want to.
When did you see this exhibit? When did you see it?
With the understanding that you're asking when did he see the video, I will
When
allow
did
the
you see
question
this
to be
exhibit?
asked.
I mean, this is hard for the judge because she's trying to keep her court in order. She's trying to teach him how to be an attorney at the same time by saying this is what you can and can't do. And she's also trying to teach him how to be a decent person. None of the three are working. I empathize greatly for her. I'm sorry, sympathize.
Understanding you may answer Detective Casey.
Am I answering when I saw the video for the first time?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor. Why is something always funny at that table? It would be the same thing. I'll take that as disrespect because they were allowed to say something and I said under my breath that was disrespect.
I would direct both parties to avoid commentary.
Okay, well, can you do that, please?
No, it's not disrespect. It's him feeling out of control again. What are you guys talking about over there? Now, I'm scared because I don't know what you're talking about and I'm not included in it and I need to know and that makes me feel out of control. And he just repackages that, that's disrespect. That's disrespect. No, every single thing that he gets upset about is him being out of control.
Admonish him because I'm always the one getting admonished.
Everyone.
I take that as disrespect too.
Sir, can I do my job? State's directed to avoid laughing commentary. I didn't see it, so I can't further comment. I was looking at
all these
the
cameras
witness.
in here. Don't nobody see
However,
nothing. Can't keep doing stuff without. It should be a fair trial. That's my right. I shouldn't be able to do things without my knowledge.
All right, Mr. Brooks, you are well aware that the reason documents are being put on the
I don't consent to being
stand
called that name.
Stop talking!
are because this court indicated it would limit the movement of the parties due to your custodial status to keep things fair.
And I merely asked, how did it get there?
Sir, do not interrupt me or you will forfeit your right to be present in this courtroom.
So you're holding me in contempt? Are you holding me in contempt?
How do you do?
I'm going to make a record.
Are you holding me in contempt?
I'm not answering your questions.
So then you're not holding me in contempt.
Do not interrupt me again or you will go to the other courtroom.
Dude.
Under what lawful law?
This is just a control game.
Again. We're going to clear the courtroom. He's being disrespectful. I'll make a record once he moves. Unless you can promise me right now that you let me make my record without you interrupting me, sir.
She gives him an opportunity for power.
You can make your record.
Then please don't interrupt me.
Don't hold me in contempt.
I've never said any such thing.
Removing me from the courtroom, Your Honor, is essentially holding me in contempt.
All right. No, you're forfeiting your right to be present under Illinois versus Allen.
I didn't forfeit anything.
I'm going to start talking, and if he interrupts, then I will close this courtroom, and he will be taken to the next courtroom. Mr. Brooks, you are well aware that the court made some pretrial rulings related to whether there would be, they can stay in, I haven't closed it yet, he's not interrupting me, whether the parties could approach the witness stand. And I did that because you're in custody and I'm not going to allow you to approach the witness stand while in custody. That is why various precautions have taken place to limit, frankly, that from happening. Throughout this trial, there was one instance at the very beginning of the case where I allowed the state to approach a witness. I corrected that. That hasn't happened since. We've had bailiffs take items up to the witness stand, or the items have been given to the witnesses, or they've been placed on the witness stand. That's proper. There is nothing wrong about that. Nobody's trying to pull a fast one over you. No one is doing something that's not permitted by this court, or frankly under the rules of decorum.
She's trying to reason with him in some way. You can't reason with anyone that's stuck in a delusion. The delusion keeps them safe from whatever they're afraid of, right? Like, and I'll mention the Jacqueline Otis one again because it's a video I feel like a lot of people saw, or if you haven't seen it yet, that one's really a roller coaster. But it keeps them safe from whatever they're super afraid of. So like, if someone's super afraid they'll never be loved, they might create an entire delusion around being loved by multiple people or this celebrity, or like everyone's in love with them. And Darrell, this delusion that he didn't do this horrible thing is keeping him safe. And there's no way. If you actually try to engage with someone that's in a like complete state of delusion, you kind of have to like hear them out. And then the best you can say is, what evidence can I provide you that would make you think otherwise? and it gives the power back to them. You may not get very far after that because this is so much deeper than whatever topic you're talking about.
Frankly, from my perspective, sir, your attempts and your comments are to try to dig in at this jury and to somehow create doubt about the presentation of this case or the fairness of these proceedings. Without the party, meaning the state, having an opportunity to refute, explain, or correct it. I've taken the jury out at this point to admonish you that any further mumbling under your breath or not recognizing when I uphold or sustain an objection that I will take as a disrupting interruption meant to disrupt the proceedings. I'm not holding you in contempt. I'm well aware that that's one of my options. I choose not to do it for the reasons that I've stated on the record previously. All right, you can forfeit your right to be present at any point in time during this trial by your conduct under Illinois versus Allen. When it is disruptive, when it does not follow the simple rules of courtesy and decorum, I draw your attention once again to SCR Chapter 62, which has been previously provided to you, which is under the statute there. These constant mumbling and interruptions.
It's miserable. I'm stressed out, frat boy Kermit. 3 words I never thought I would say.
But I will now. Started at 9:01, then there was 5 at 9:02, 3 at 9:03, 4 at 9:04,
she's just trying to do her job.
2 at 9:05, 1 at 9:06, 3 at 9:08, again at 9:17, 9:27, 10:31, 1:05. There was talking over by you at 2:03, 5 interruptions at 2:14, 2:15, 2:17, at 2:19, audible muttering, 2:31, 2:33, what I would describe as inappropriate, like muttering under your breath, 2:35, at 3:06, there was a hilarious comment, at 3:11, there was what I would describe as arguing about the muttering and the irony of it all. At 3:12, there were 4 interruptions. At 3:37, more 4:09, 4:10, more mumbling. At 4:11, twice, and at 4:12, 9 different times. So, I think I've made an ample record of the disruptions today. I've been abundantly for the examination of this witness. Let's bring the jury back in.
Well, you might as well remove me then, because what you're doing is not fair. I can't even rebut what you're saying. I didn't interrupt you. I let you make your incorrect record.
Your incorrect
Mr. Brooks,
record.
I'm bringing the jury
Dude.
out.
She literally finally got everything out that she needed to say to do her job. And then at the end of it, he's like, yeah, I let you finish your incorrect record. Man, I just realized some of you guys are not that triggered by somebody invalidating your emotions or your words. I definitely am. So I pick up on that and I react to that quite a bit. I express this all the time. Everybody has a few little tiny triggers. You know, we really like oversaturate the word, but it's true. And it's good to know what things affect you, because if somebody invalidates something I just said or my emotions or how I'm feeling and they tell me that I don't feel that way, I instantly get really spun up and it's hard for me to logically move forward afterwards. So if you're somebody that's like that, just know that you need to take a beat and step away sometimes.
Mr. Brooks, I'm bringing the jury out and we're continuing. We're going to get through these witnesses.
That's how I lost my job.
Behavior, you're not going to delay these proceedings today.
I'm not trying to delay the proceedings, so I wish you would stop being incorrect on the record and saying what I'm trying to do if you don't know that. You don't know what I'm trying to do.
I'm bringing the jury out. I'm not going to argue with you.
Then don't. Because I'm not arguing with you either. I'm stating facts.
You're raising your voice. It's
because I'm tired of you always making a record.
At me.
You're making a record of me trying to look bad. I know what you're trying to do. It's not going to work.
I'm making a record of what's accurately.
You're making a record of incorrect statements.
Dude, Jennifer, I'm tired. I'm tired of you always doing that.
I'm tired, bro.
Are we in a fucking courtroom?
You're making a record of me trying to look bad. I know what you're trying to do. It's not going to work.
I'm making a record of what's accurately.
You're making a record of incorrect statements. That's what you're doing. You're not making a record of
Mr.
not
Brooks,
being.
I'm advising you to be quiet because the jury's coming back out.
You're advising me to be quiet? Is you telling me to be quiet?
To be respectful when the jury
Are you telling me to be quiet, or are you asking me?
Dude. This is black trauma in 4K.
Okay, thank you for correcting that, because don't nobody tell me what to do. I don't tell nobody else what to do.
Thank you for correcting that. Thank you for doing what I want to do. Look at that. I will now back off from these behaviors when you submit to what I want to do. It's training them to back down on their own opinions.
I'd appreciate
We're all adults in here. I've never told you to do anything at all.
Sir, I'd appreciate if your tone of voice would change.
I would appreciate if you asked me. I'm a grown man with grown kids. Ain't nobody gonna talk to me like that. Nobody.
Oh my God.
I don't have a problem with doing what you asked me to do, not tell me.
Wow, this tactic is simply exhaust you emotionally into oblivion and then offer you solutions that are based off of what I want. That is how we roll into collapse and submit. All right, let's keep it going.
Be scared of getting removed or something.
You need to shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up.
Silence. It's golden.
Mr. Brooks.
So I'm the only one. I got one ear that work, and I heard that.
This is to benefit you so that you understand your witness has a prior record.
Your Honor, when I leave the table, I'm away from the courtroom, and I have to elevate my voice. This is the alleged record of Abel Lescott.
Stop talking.
Come on, man. Like, I don't know who y'all be thinking y'all fooling. I accept the value in return for value this document.
One more interruption and you're going to be removed to the next courtroom.
That's what you want to do anyway.
It's not what I want to do. Do not interrupt Attorney Opera.
So can
Your
you
Honor, I believe he has 7 prior criminal convictions via OWI 2nd from 1997, and OWI 3rd from 1997, and OWI 4th from 2003, criminal trespass to dwelling from 2006.
Right, I need to take a break. This man right now is having a stare down with me. It's very disrespectful.
I would have stared back, and then I would have started making funny faces. That's what I would have done. Darrell Brooks ignores judge and reads Bible. This is a circus. The man killed 6 people and then turned it into a fucking circus.
To answer my questions from previously and also to let me know whether you are asking to stay in that courtroom.
She can't believe it.
I've been advised you can hear and see.
I already know my editor's about to put the Gabby Hanna audio over that. I already know. First of all, let me just say this, because y'all know this. Y'all know I was raised as a woman of God that was following the gospel. Right now, right there, he ain't even reading a good fucking book in the Bible, okay? He's somewhere in the New Testament. Look at the thickness of the book. Look where is that? He's somewhere in the New Testament. I don't know, the Ephesians, something like that. Something that ain't even good. It's not even the Old Testament. It's not where he's at in the Bible. Okay, the best thing in the New Testament is Revelations, and that's at the end. And he ain't at the end of that. Nah, he ain't on Psalms. He ain't on Exodus. He ain't on Job. He just opened that bitch right up in the middle. I tell you that right now. And that's how I know he ain't reading that Bible, because we just read the middle to get through it. I can't stop watching this.
It would be what I would expect. All right, I will read each one into the record.
She is so done.
We, the jury,
and so am
find
I.
the defendant, Darrell E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in count 1 of the information. Dated this 26th day of October 2022, signed by the foreperson, juror number 11. If you find the defendant guilty of first-degree intentional homicide, answer the following question, yes or no. Did the defendant commit first-degree intentional homicide while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes. We, the jury, find the defendant, Darrell E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in count 2 of the information. Did the defendant commit first-degree intentional homicide while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes.
Burn in hell, you piece of shit.
Hey, you need to be removed right now.
Amen. Say it again. Keep him
We,
in the court.
jury, find the defendant, Darrell E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in count 3 of the information. And I should state, as to count 2, it was signed and dated by the foreperson, same as to count 3. Did the defendant commit first-degree intentional homicide while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes.
I mean, this guy has delusion written all over him. Delusional that he was going to be a famous rapper. Delusional that he could represent himself. Delusional that he could commit such a heinous crime and get away with it. This is like just a full-blown perpetual state of psychosis.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Darrell E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in count 5 of the information, dated today's date and signed by the foreperson. Did the defendant commit first-degree intentional homicide while using a dangerous weapon? Answer, yes.
You know, he's got his head hung right now, but he's not listening. We know this. He's not listening to a single word that anyone is saying. These defense mechanisms are so strong. And it's like, what are you protecting? Because there's nothing underneath this. Like, Darrell's shown that he doesn't want to hear anything that doesn't fit his narrative. Like, he actively deflects, he fights, and at this point, he can't really do or say anything, but he would just move to one of his defense mechanisms, which is just to tune everything out until he's allowed to speak again.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Darrell E. Brooks, guilty of first-degree recklessly endangering safety as charged in count 7 of the information, dated today's date.
You know, in another way to take control back from someone that's speaking to you is by not listening. This is just all some strange control game. Let's see what the mother is like.
It sounds like you want to be an advocate for...
People need to understand mental illness and understand people who are mentally ill are hurting. They're trapped. And a lot of them don't know the way out.
Okay, so that's where he got all this from. She's making excuses for him because her son's actions, she feels like they reflect back on her. Oh my God.
Compassion. The families who have loved ones that are suffering from mental illness, a lot of them are ashamed to even talk about it. Or to say that he's crazy and don't want to have anything to do with them, but you need to, those people need help more than anything. Seek out treatment where there is. Speak up for them, be an advocate for them. And then when you see people out in the street, you see them acting, and you just laugh at them joking, and you shouldn't wait. You know, stop and say a prayer.
Stop and say a prayer?
Darrell. Early on.
Prayers and therapy weren't gonna fix this. A poem
written by Maya Angelou called I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. And I learned that poem in the 7th grade for Black History Month. And I never thought about that poem again. And the Lord brought it to my memory. And I remember back when I was a child, my grandma had a pet parakeet named Jerry. And I remember that so vividly. She would walk to the cage and Jerry would sing. He had a beautiful singing voice.
Or does she
and we all thought
him?
Jerry was happy because he would sing and twerk, and his cage was right in front of the window where he can look out in the backyard. And we thought, but then when the Lord brought that poem to me, I pulled it up again and I read it again. And I realized that bird wasn't singing because it was happy. That bird was singing because
that bird was fucking screaming, and Darrell Brooks needs to be in jail for life.